Yeah, we're live.
Woo!
Yeah.
Got it.
Live streamed, baby. Live streamed. I'm going to find it and make sure that we're on the live stream.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I'll go from out the fact that we are. Hello, everybody. We're here.
Hi. We're very normal.
That's Iris, and this is Luke, and we're here. Yeah, and that's Iris's eyebrows. They're hey, have we got some books for you guys this time?
We sure do.
Yes, it's the penultimate episode of the season, and
That's
we're gonna blind you with lots of books. So, do you want to go first? You got a
sure, yeah.
Go on then.
Starting on like a happy note.
Instead of a sad note that we normally do.
I mean, Lilia, who works in The Hague and LEIDSCHENDAM stores, and who is the buyer for many sections, but one of them is the romance section, is recommending Happy Place by Emily Henry, which is just out or just about to come out, but we definitely have it. And she says that it's a beautiful book about self-sacrifice, love, hate, learning about yourself, and going for your dreams.
Yes.
Wild with a hangover and in a total daze, but it's still charming and heartwarming. It sounds really fun. It sounds like a rom.
Right. It's a rom-com. Yeah. Let's show the people what it looks like, because we can do this. Where's my screen? And that's what it is. It's Happy Place, people. It's not young adult, it's romance.
No, it's a romance. Yeah.
Romance, yeah, indeed. Yeah, because Emily Henry's got a wad of books, so there's probably people who know Emily well, intimately well, and know that she's good. Or something.
Exactly.
Nice. And indeed, we've got it in stock in the ABC in Amsterdam, and you must have it there in The Hague.
I'm pretty sure we do. Yeah, I've definitely seen it in LEIDSCHENDAM. So I'm sure we have it in The Hague as well.
There you go. And we managed to name drop all three shops in the same breath. So that was good. Hey, look at us being cool. Great. Let's stop the share there. You saw all the other books that we're going to talk about this week.
Spoiler alert.
All of the other books that, let me just show you that again, actually, because that's kind of cool. This is our website. We like to show that because it's cool website, abc.nl. I think that's the coolest thing to have, abc.nl. I love it.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, and this is the highlights. ABC Star Pick Season 3, but you can see all sorts of different ones on the left-hand side, ABC favourites or science fiction favourites, or different down here, you've got staff choice from different staff members. And this is where we stuff our books that we talk about every month. So if you go, I want to know more about that book, then you can find us on abc.nl and look that up here. So that's cool. And talking about which, then I will say,
should I do Lilia's other recommendation as well?
Yes, you should. Go on.
Okay, because she also read Dauntless by Jack Campbell, which I'm not entirely sure if Dauntless is the name of the book or the name of the series, but the particular book that she wants to recommend is the first in this series, and it's like a military science fiction thing. So it's kind of like crime in space, which is actually kind of a thing at the moment. This is not, I don't think it's a recent book, but there are a few recent titles that sort of deal with that whole thing. But anyway, Lilia says that she liked that the author manages to show the weirdness of battles in space, because obviously you're dealing with things that you don't have to think about when you're on the surface of a planet, like the speed of light and weighting and angles and the silence. So yeah. And she also said that the author shows that the most gruesome battles are the ones we fight amongst each other, which is, I feel like, a very heavy-handed lesson here.
Yes. Okay, I'm just looking for Dauntless. Here we go. It is actually, it's an older one, 2006 even. Yeah. But it is part indeed of a series of books.
Yeah.
That's called books, paper things. Jack Campbell, a classic. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
we do all sorts here.
Yeah,
Beatrice Hero.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. Actually, I had sort of heard of it, but it never really appealed to me because I didn't really know what it was about. But now that Lilia said this, I'm like, ooh, maybe I should give it a try.
Mm.
Sounds kind of cool, actually.
Okay. Well, let us know if you do read it, because then you can tell us more what your reactions are.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have our go down. Let's see. We had Siggy, and Siggy is looking after. Well, she's very much into nutritional stuff as well, anyway. But she's looking into home. She looks after the home. Not decorating, but actually the home improvements, as it were.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so she recommends 2 books. One is Own Your Space by Alexandra Gator, and Alexandra Gator is a YouTuber, so it's a young lady, and she has worked out how to do mostly with small spaces. Now, who doesn't live in a small space in Holland, and how you can basically decorate it well and spruce it up nicely. And what I saw as well clicked with me. We were talking about actually me wanting to paint my house certain colors, like cappuccino colors and stuff like that, and how to do it. And so she whipped the book out, and you could see that she had like this made color palettes for different sorts of styles of colors.
Oh,
which
cool.
is already, and so it's like, oh yeah, that's handy. So because I had a couple of colors and I thought I wanted a few more, and then this gave me some ideas from some extra colors. And also, like, I've got an example of this house is very long. It's 40 by 80, so it's 80 meters long, and so I've got a very long wall. And I thought for years to like maybe color it in the middle to break it up visually, using paint. And but I never dared to, because I thought, I don't know if that's going to work. And she actually talks about that, about dividing your room with paint and with colors. And so it sort of tipped me over the edge, going, yes, I knew it was a good idea all the time.
It's clever, yeah.
It's really, if you're into that sort of thing and you want to do something with the smaller space that you have, then she's got some nice tips that are not too difficult and sort of refreshing and stuff like that. So that's a kind of a nice book. And the other book that Siggy suggests is called The Glucose Goddess Method by Jessie Inchauspé. And this is a second book which accompanies her best-selling book called The Glucose Revolution. And it's The Glucose Goddess Method is a more practical book with about recipes and things to make on a weekly basis, so you don't, excuse me, my tea's repeating on me, so you don't get repeaters on you. So you don't get glucose spikes, which they thought, glucose spikes, what's that? So I'm sure it goes into discussing what glucose spikes are, at least the first book probably.
I mean, I hope so.
Yeah. So it sort of opens up that whole world of glucose and what you need when you're getting too much of it, and what it's doing to your body, and how you can actually make good meals and have a good intake with not too much, I guess, just the right amount. So those 2 of the books, looking after your body and looking after your house, basically housekeeping of your body and your house and your hair.
Nice. Yeah,
which I kind of like. So that's Siggy's suggestion for this week.
Cool.
Yeah,
very nice.
What you got?
I've got something from Renata, which is 2 books, but she kind of lumped them together. It's Open Veins of Latin America by Eduardo Galeano, and also How Democracies Die by Stephen Levitsky. And she said she's reading both of them as like a reference to understand what is going on in the world, because obviously there's a lot going on in the world.
There is a lot going
on. But she said she's taking it very slowly because it's very interesting to learn about all this, but it's also pretty confronting, and it's not something that you want to binge read, which is something that, for me anyway, I really have in general with nonfiction. It's always just a lot slower than fiction books, which I can just inhale. But I thought it was really interesting to
that ticks boxes for me. I might look at those and actually reading them together. And as you say, she brings up as well the fact that it's like trying to understand what's happening in the world today, because we have been suddenly changed, very quickly in a very short space of time. Where the world doesn't go in a sort of linear phase all the time, and we've had quite a long phase of it being quite stable, and now it's very unstable at the moment.
Yeah.
And so reading books can help get the
Yeah, and I
perspective.
think it's interesting because it's a lot of people use books as an escape. You know, they get into
Sure.
fiction books to escape from reality. But I feel like this is sort of like leaning in and trying to learn more about it. And that's also, I think, a very interesting way to go about it.
True. In this month, I've been thinking about stories. I've been thinking that actually everything we have as thoughts are, in fact, I see them as stories. And that can sound like it makes everything at a distance or fictionalized, but actually we can also, the following thought I had was that we can actually be very emotionally attached to our stories. And therefore it's very difficult to give those stories up because we are emotionally invested in them. And with the world, I mean, obviously with a loved one or with, our family, these are invested stories and they have a worth as well. They give us something, but sometimes when these stories are no longer useful or they're bad for us, then it's quite difficult to give them up sometimes so easily. And certainly when these stories are around the world where we have not a lot of influence on them and they're happening to us, how do we deal with that sort of story without just going and just hiding under the pillows the whole time? These, I suppose, rational stories, you'd call them, I mean, we're inundated with the idea of fake news in the last 10 years, or 8 years, not even 10 really, post-Trump. And it's trying to deal with that. And there becomes a realization now, I think, as far as I feel anyway, that people are really understanding that we have to put a barrier up against certain news that we just know is fake, although we don't have a reasoning why it is, but we just know it is. It's kind of interesting. I'll stop there, otherwise I could go on for hours on this. But I like that. And leaning into the stories is kind of what you just said. Some stories would take us away, so that helps us to get away from what's going on. Some stories we need to deal with the stories that are in front of us. It's actually stories to deal with other stories.
No, but I think it's very tempting, of course, if it's like, if things are hard or scary or difficult to try and get away from that. I think that's a very normal human animal instinct reaction. But that's why I thought it was very cool that Renata is like, no, I want to understand what's going on, so I'm going to learn more about it. I thought that was just really, really good.
Yeah, and to choosing the sort of book. So those two books are good. Are they on the list? I didn't see them on the list there.
I think so.
Island.
I'm pretty sure.
Open Veins of Latin America and How Democracies Die. Let's have a look. If I can share my screen again. I'm looking, but I don't see them.
Well, I don't think they're in order. I think it randomizes the.
Oh no.
I'm not sure.
Well, it looks like most of them are on the new ones you've added are at the top. I'll just refresh it and see. I don't see them. You've got the Glucose Goddess and Own Your Space there, which I was talking about before.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I mean, we'll add them. It's fine.
We'll add them if they're not on there. So don't forget to check that out. Tell me the name of the books again, just for sure.
Open Veins of Latin America and How Democracies Die.
By Stephen Levitsky. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Nice. Yeah, I was just saying to you before, we're sort of the shop at the ABC in Amsterdam, and you said in The Hague as well, are like buzzing at the moment with the customers who are just loving being in the shop, and I'm loving them enjoying that and knowing that we can supply people with books that they really want to have, be it from science fiction or fantasy or crime or non-fiction books. Filling or games or stuff like that, filling their needs, their wants and needs. And as we're talking about the stories, people are in need of stories. It keeps them going. And in this rough time, these rather uncertain times, that's where they get needed more, I think.
Yeah.
So I'll move on and let's see. I'll do Big Macs. Big Macs and Little Macs we have. They're both over 6 foot tall, over 2 meters. But
they're both pretty tall. Yeah,
they're pretty tall. Yes. So the biggest Max, this man, he's our music man. I mean, I'm a music man as well, but he's the music man of the historical. He's got like a huge wall full, if not more, behind me, like of records and stuff like that. He's a record dealer, and he couldn't stop by sharing one book or two or three. So in the end, I just took a picture of the whole of the new titles because there's just so many in here. So he mentioned Rufus Thomas, the funkiest man alive. And he was one of the Stax guys, and also Black Moses from Isaac Hayes. He was from the Stax record label from the 60s. And he recommended, you got Martin Kemp, which was, of course, from Gold Spandau Ballet in the 80s. Good Lord. He recommended Leon Russell, which is also from the 70s. Keyboard player, singer-songwriter. You've got Surrender by Bono. It's been out since before Christmas. Dilla Time is, I didn't know anything about this guy, actually. It's not my thing. About rap artists. He's actually even dead now, but he had a huge influence since the 90s. And then you've got Secrets I Told You from, sorry, Don't Tell Anybody the Secrets I've Told You from Lucinda Williams. She's a 70s country singer-songwriter from America. So there's, and of course this one, which is massive, is back in stock. Rick Rubin, The Creative Act, The Way of Being. That was so wanted. I think they got caught out because they just didn't make enough. And so we sold them all and we couldn't get any more because there were just not enough to be made. So they're now in stock again. So there's just a selection of the new titles that we've got.
Yeah, there's a little bit for everything, looks like.
Yeah. Like I said, from all the different generations, even these the philosophy of modern song by Bob Dylan, that's been around for the last, since around Christmas, New Year. So there you go. There's a quick view of the whole of the new releases section from the music part in Amsterdam. So come along if you want to have some more music books and have a word with Very Big Max if you've got any questions, or me about music.
Yeah, ask him about his puppy. He'll show you pictures.
And what's he called, his puppy? Bowie. Yeah, it's great.
Such a cute little doggy.
He is. He's good fun. I can handle dogs that are that big, so it's good.
Yeah, he's very tiny.
Quite a little gruffy little. He's a bit like Worry, like my beard.
Yeah. He's very cute.
I don't know. He's not even 6 months old. I don't think he really is about that big. I think.
Yeah, it's like a little loaf of bread.
A hairy loaf of bread. Anyway, yes, we'll move on.
Okay, moving on. I have a suggestion from Julia, who is one of the newest members of the ABC staff in the Hague Leidschendam stores. And she recommends The Island of Sea Women by Lisa C. Pretty funny name for a book about
sea women. Yes, go on.
Yeah. No, but I mean the author's name is C, although it's with double E.
I didn't see that. Yeah, C.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's even with C-double-E. Yeah. Funny.
Anyway, so it's about two female divers who are best friends, and they live their lives in this small Korean village in like the late 30s. And it's about this matriarchal society that they have on the island. But then, World War II is coming and things sort of start to change. And Julia says that the author beautifully combines the historic events with this fictional story of love and betrayal and female friendship. And she says that she couldn't stop reading, but she tried to slow down because she wanted to enjoy it as long as she could, which is something that I recognize very much. So that was fun. Yeah.
It's funny. It's exactly like food, isn't it? It's like when you said that, I thought, oh yeah, just like
it's very much like that.
Slice of chocolate cake you got in front of you, and you just go, oh, I want to eat it all. Oh, but I want to just.
It's so good. I want to continue, but also I want this experience to last.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh wow, so that's cool. Very nice.
Yeah, it sounds very cool. It was on my list already, but now I'm like, oh, maybe I should bump it up a little bit. This sounds really good.
Add to your library of books already.
Yeah,
it's crazy stuff. There's so many good books to read. There is
it's a problem.
Well,
for me,
it's a story. Is it a problem, or it's only a problem?
No, I mean it's not a problem in general. It's a problem for me that good books keep coming out, and there's only so much I can read in a year.
That's true, yeah. Well, I tend to think is actually that if book lovers realize that they are collecting for their library, which makes you feel happy having a library, of things, collection of things around you, and that whole library, we kind of mistakenly, I think, grow up thinking that we should have all these books that we have read, you know, buy a book, read a book, put it in the library, buy a book, read a book, put it in the library. But it doesn't happen like that, because we buy books, and we have more and more books that we're going to have to read. And our library becomes not just 90% books read and 10% books that I'm going to read, but that 50-50 or something like that, or maybe 70-30, which is then getting a bit too many books maybe. But it's part of the book lovers world. And
of course, yeah.
And if we accept that, then that's good. I think at a certain point, and as you get older, of course, like in general, you collect stuff, and at a certain point, you've got to get rid of stuff.
Yeah.
And really sit there going, I've had this book 30 years. Am I really ever going to read it?
Maybe it's not going to happen for me. Yeah.
And is it worth getting rid of it? And if I really, really want it, then I'll go and buy it again. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all those sort of things.
No, but the problem for me is that at some point I realized that I read quite a lot of books in a year. I can read around 100 books in a year. But even if I do that every year of my life, there's always going to be books that I don't get to, because there's only so much time I have. Even if I live to be 112 and I read 100 books every year, I'm not going to be able to read everything I want to read. And like, on the one hand, that's very depressing, but also very motivating to like, don't stick with books you don't enjoy, and to like curate what you're reading carefully. I mean, obviously everybody has to make their own decisions in that, but that's what I want to do. I don't want to invest my time in stuff that I'm not really going to like. And also I've noticed that over the years, as I've been, you know, reading more and more, I've gotten better at pretty accurately estimating whether I'm going to like something or not. Yeah. I've gotten sort of more confident in my own tastes or something. Yeah. More specific, and you know, that's just not going to fly. It kind of, if you were like 20, you would have kind of gone, this looks kind of interesting. Maybe I'll have a give it a go. But at 30 or 40, you're kind of like going, like, I know that that's not going to happen. That happens with age. Becoming more specific. But I like what you're saying. That is true. It's something, like I said, it gets born out of reality of time with books, that you end up finding a different way of dealing with things. For me, it's like in my studio, and my music studio here, and then I buy things that I think might work in my studio because it's an educated guess. And then after a year, if I haven't actually used it, then I go through my studio once a year, once a year and a half, and then go like, this is great thing. I love it, what it does, but I just don't use it. So I'm gonna have to get it out, sell it. I can sell it at a pretty okay price, and then put that money towards something new, which I can try, which may actually work, So indeed, it's like not collecting and collecting and collecting, which if you've got the space and time and money, great, but I don't. But I feel like the collecting is like a different hobby to the using. And I think it's the same with reading. There's a lot of people who like to collect a lot of books around them because they like to curate that library, but that's a different hobby to reading the books. Exactly. There are parts to being a book lover. Kornoeljehof, one of our most famous and well-known and often coming clients, just buys books and books and books, and he told me he just can hardly move around his house now, literally move around his house. It's really like fun. And I was suggesting to him, like, well, maybe have you thought of like making a library or making, renting another space and getting a few people like students or somebody like that to help you to put part 1, 2, and 3 together of the different parts you've got, because he's got part 1 up there and part 2 is in the garage. Oh, I couldn't do that. That's really going far, but I think he's got the ability and the vermogen that he can do that. So not everybody has that, which is a good reason for us to stop. Anyway, moving on. It's good these things, because these are parts of being a book lover. So that was Biggest Max I was talking about. Now I've got Little Big Max, who is our next Max in the shop, and he's our games buyer. And he, oh dear, I've got these. I thought these are going to be fun. Oh wow! Yes, let's put it that way. So get my hands that way. So that's the game. It's called Throw Burrito.
and you're throwing burritos at each other. A
Dodgeball card game.
You throw these, and then as an extra, if you want, you can get the block burrito expansion, which are tortilla shields.
Nice.
The blow up tortilla shields that you can defend yourself with when you're being thrown. A tortilla is being thrown at you.
That's so dumb. I love it.
Exactly. That's what I say. That dumb, stupid games for fun, for playing for people. So you do actually have cards. There are supposed to be cards that you play, and then at a certain point, you have a duel or not. And he said that he gave the burrito, the throw burritos the other day, brought it to a friend of his house for yesterday, for King's Day. And he said the kids got the burritos out of the box. They just started throwing them at each other. They ended up not playing the game. They just threw.
Yeah,
burritos.
no, I feel like, yeah, that makes sense. That checks out.
Kind of how you do it. So if you fancy a burrito throwing exercise and you don't want to buy or make your own and make a huge mess, then this is a perfect way out.
Nice.
And if you've got a dog, then they're going to enjoy chewing them as well. So so there you go. So some crazy games we've got. They're the fun stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have them in the Hague or not.
I'm pretty sure we do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's from the makers of Exploding Kittens, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Exploding Kittens. What on earth?
They have a bunch of those really dumb party games.
They do, hilarious. Yeah. Dumb, stupid. It's really, you just go, what? And have to laugh. So that's good fun. So that was Little Big Max's suggestion.
Nice. We need another Max. We need yet another Max. A small Max.
Oh yeah, small.
Oh,
Max.
or even taller. That could be fun. Giant
Max. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maximilian.
Yeah. Anyway, I have some books that I want to talk about.
You tell us.
2 of them should be exact. Okay, so the first one, the first Dragon by Lee Newberry. Wow. Yeah. Because this is a part 2. Hang on a second. Ugh. I think I talked about part 1 on the stream because I had an ARC for that, an advanced copy.
Oh, nice.
That one was called The Last Firefox.
Right.
And this is the sequel, The First Shadow Dragon. It's a kid's book, and it's set in Wales. The author is Welsh, and it's just this really cute, contemporary fantasy story of empowerment. Basically, it's children finding their courage, and it's very adorable. It's illustrated, and it's just the cutest thing I have ever seen in my life. Hang on, let me find a picture of the show me. Because it's just
one of those ones is 6 to 9, or no, 4 to 7 years or something.
I think probably a little bit older, 9 to 12.
But they have oh right, okay.
Yeah, it's so adorable.
As Bella would say, wholesome and cute.
It's very wholesome, yeah. And it's very I know the author, or not personally, but we follow each other on Instagram, and we interact and stuff, and it's been so fun to see his journey, and his first published book, and now there's a part 2, and it's doing really well, and it just makes it even more I'm even more excited to then read the book, you know what I mean? Because
invested in the story.
And I just want to be able to be a part of the conversation, and it's great because it's really good. Otherwise, it's a little bit awkward. Oh yeah, I read your book. It sucks. But this is this is great.
He's a nice guy, but
no. But this is it's really fun. It's really wholesome, and it's a really quick read. And also, they're kids' books, but they're really fun for adults as well. It's very clear that Lee, the author, is used to, because he has a son who's very young as well, so it's very clear that he's used to reading stories to his child, and that he knows it's fun if there's a few things in there for the adults, you know what I mean? So there's it's really the humor works for me as well. Maybe I'm just a child, but
I say nothing.
It's really fun.
I'm
really
not
good.
incriminating myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's good. They always say that works in Disney films and stuff like that. But as books, I'd not really ever thought that if that works that way. But if you know how to do it, then that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I feel it's very well balanced between, serious themes, and there's definitely stakes in the story, but it's also definitely uplifting and wholesome enough for kids to be oh wow, that was really cool, and not be oh my god, that was scary, or not too scary or anything. So
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
good.
exactly
That's
that.
good.
And I think sometimes, actually, even as an adult reading these books, they have the flights of fantasy. I like sometimes watching
Yeah.
some of the kids' films because they have an onbevangenheid of
Yeah.
freedom. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's something I kind of miss in grown-up films, as it
Yeah.
were. And you can really get away with that. Things like
Yeah.
101 Dalmatians, for example, pops up.
Sure.
It's been done
Yeah.
3 or 4 times, and every time it's just kind of nice
Yeah.
because there's something about it which is you can really get lost in the story. And they got baddies and goodies, and good things happen and bad things happen. But you can really lose yourself,
Yeah.
talking about getting
Yeah.
away in the stories. So that's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second book that I wanted to talk about is a novella, because that's my brand now. So I need to talk about at least one novella every stream. It's The Crane Husband.
The Crane Husband.
I don't know if you can see the author's name, Kelly Barnhill.
Yeah.
She wrote a lot of books that I liked. The Ogress and the Orphans, The Girl Who Drank the Moon, which are also like middle grade books, but this is definitely adult fantasy. And it's based on this Japanese folktale called The Crane Wife, which is a story in which a man and his wife, they're very poor, but she weaves and he sells her works, and then they get quite rich. But her only condition is that she has to weave in like complete privacy. He can never come in and watch her work. But then he gets greedy, and then he does go in, and he sees that she is actually a crane, and she's pulling out her own feathers and like working them into the weaving. But because he broke his promise, she then flies away. And this story is loosely based on that, in that there is someone in there who sort of shapeshifts into a crane, or like between crane and human forms.
Yeah.
But it's very, very different. There's weaving in there, like a lot of the themes are in there, but it kind of feels like deconstructed and then put back together in a different way from the original folktale. It's really good. It's hard to talk about because it's only a novella. It's so short. It's hard to talk about without giving too much away, but it's very good. I was very impressed with this, because not every author who can do full-length novels can do novellas, because it's quite a different way of structuring a story and like deciding which information to give when. But this is very, very good. It's amazing. And everybody should read it.
So go ahead and read it. There you go. A high praise indeed from the lady on the other side of the camera.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Enough of that. I don't know what's going on there. The short stories. Yeah, like we talked about novellas. Yeah, different style of writing. I get that. And the way you described it as well. It's just the whole idea of it being from another story and deconstructed and recrafted. Like, oh, okay. Which is a curse these days a lot with Western types of fables and stuff like that.
Yeah, but those are usually more retellings, and this is quite like, it's inspired by that folktale, you can definitely tell. But it's a lot more like thrown on its head than just a retelling. Okay,
but the story itself, the original fable, comes from the East, I assume, from China, from Japan.
Apparently it's Japanese.
Japanese, yeah. And so this is also something which we are seeing in the shop, that there's more influence of more authors being translated, authors from the last 50 years, even from the last 50 to 100 years, actually, that have never really made huge waves in Europe, in the English sort of speaking part of the world. And now, because it's becoming more and more, and I only see this happening more and more accepted, that those are being translated, and then there's going to be a sort of renaissance for these authors for themselves. But for us in Europe and in America, I think there's going to be this whole new wave of other ways of thinking. And this story, which I don't know the original story, and I go, whoa, that's freaky that she's a crane. It's like, that doesn't quite click with my idea of Hansel and Gretel, for example.
Definitely,
You just have the children, and that's the evil person, that's the good person, and that's it. Not people shape-shifting. That's kind of like really.
Well, shape-shifting is kind of a theme in our fairy tales as well, but it's done differently, because I recognize your reaction, because I also had, when I first discovered what the original story was, I was also like, oh, that's a very different type of story than what I'm used to from like folk tales and fairy tales.
Exactly. Yeah. It's again talking of the stories. If we can go on that the same idea, it is we get brought up with stories, and that's how tradition happens, of course, and it's part of the human experience as well. That they say since cave drawings and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's something definitely, very, very very, very basic instinct of the human race, and even actually animalistics. I suppose animals as well have stories. I guess you could say. I don't know. That'd be an interesting one. I'd have to work with that one. But because we do. The world is massive, and there are areas of the world that don't know the other stories, the fables, the oral stories, as well as their own. Even between Dutch and English stories, for example, there's a difference, and those are coming more now.
So, I mean, obviously now the world is like super interconnected, and everybody can look everything up online and like read books and everything. But when a lot of folk tales and stories like that came into existence, or like were built over however many generations, that wasn't an option. So they all sort of started life in isolation in a way.
Yeah, in their own different ways, much like we have different languages and different styles of living and stuff like that. And so now it's because it's coming together. And even though the internet is there and the world is more closely connected than it ever has been in the whole of existence, human existence, we don't know everything, but it's just slowly happening. I mean, it's so fresh that we know that we can internet and stuff like that, and smartphone stuff like that. It's only 10 years, a little over 10 years. It's crazy, really. We actually really are on the cusp of a new world here. It's crazy. Don't get me started on AI. That's a whole other thing. But anyway.
No, yeah.
We'll move on. I'll do. Yeah, let's see. It's 20 past. Yeah, let's. I've got Jeroen and Yillis, and Jeroen suggested two, but I'm gonna. We did one last month, last something. We did it before anyway. So he gave Chip War, which is the fight for the world's most critical technology by Chris Miller, and it's about chips, and that actually these are seen according to this book. And for me, this is actually a new story that I didn't realize. I have to also say, is it true or not? Because I don't know. But they're saying it's like the new oil are chips.
Oh, okay.
Whoever owns chips or chip manufacturing is going to own, everything in the world is going to be run on chips. So that's the simple idea that I picked up, and two of the main components of this are America and China. So the fight between them, but of course this is also again, pumping up that storyline of the fight. It's just businesses and who gets to be the big one. I'm sure that China is pretty damn good at it, so I'm sure they're going to win. I mean, the idea going forward in the next 50 years is that the east of the world, the eastern part of the world, is going to be the strongest and be leading the world. So, and we've not really known that in the West before because we didn't have the influence of it like that. But it's in the shop. I think we see it instantly. We see it already with the amount of books we have, from manga books through to the young people. Excuse me, being influenced by the art and wanting to even learn Japanese, which is like, really? Wow. It's not like learning Italian or French or even Dutch. It's like a whole other, it really is like an alien language because there's nothing to connect it really with European language.
It's very, very different.
That seems like an interesting book to have. Talking of what you said, Renata was reading. This is sort of a book about, this is going to be the future of where it's going. And Yillis loves good books as well. He's suggested two. He's suggested The Gospel of the Eels. Actually, I do have Chip Wars here, so that's Chip Wars.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, so there you go. Chip Wars by Chris Miller. Worth reading. 24 euros for the trade paperback. And Yillis suggested the Gospel of the Eels. There you go. That's my paper for today. By Patrick with a K, no C. Patrick Svensson. Patrick Svensson.
I really like that cover.
Yeah, you do?
It's really pretty.
Okay. I wasn't so turned on, but yeah, I'm glad you like it. There you go. Yeah. And it's about eels. Actually, it's funny because it's a father and a son and the world's most enigmatic fish. It did make me think while he was telling me about it of my favorite book, The Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, where ostensibly a father takes his son on a road trip, and this is a father taking his son on a fishing trip. And then and it's not super thick either.
No.
So it's not quite a novella, but it is 240 pages long. Well, actually, that's with the extra bit as well. 230 pages long, something like that. Yeah, and it interweaves. Oh, it's got that book smell.
Yeah. Okay. Let's keep it PG.
Sorry. Yeah, it's like rolling a cigar or something.
Yeah.
I saw a customer the other day doing that.
Yeah.
It's just like little whiffs. It's like, oh,
I mean, I do it too.
Yeah, one has to do it. There's some books have less of a smell than others, but this one has definitely that good printed book smell. Okay, all right, it's putting me off. On and on, sort of this chapter, the next chapter, this chapter, the next chapter. One is about the story of the father and the son going fishing, and the other chapter is the history of eels, because apparently nobody quite understood what was happening with the world of eels. I mean, I didn't understand it all, and Ulysses was so into it, it was like, oh, I'd like to read it. So always a good pointer of how someone talks about it. He was talking about, let's see, it's about eels. New information about eels that was only discovered in the last 50 years or so. Fascinating book on how they migrate and reproduce and turn into a gender, like a male or a female, only after 40 years of life.
Dependent on what's needed, right?
Allegedly so, yeah, but they aren't male female and for ages, they can live up to 80 years, but they only reproduce once and then they die.
80 years.
80 up to 80 years. So they could be 80 and then suddenly turn into a male and go off and have sex and then go, oh, I've had enough, and that's it. So can you imagine? I've had enough after 50.
I'm not over that lifespan. Like there's eels who can get as old as humans. That's wild.
There you go. Oh, I don't know if they keep growing. They grow and then that's it. They wriggle around like this long, and so that was one of the things how they discovered. And apparently you've got eels in pockets all over the world. In England, I was talking the other day about how my dad used to eat jellied eels in England because that was a thing on. Yeah, exactly. Just
no. Oh my God, no.
Your reaction is what we used to have when we used to see Dad, and he would have a beard like this and he's getting his
no, stop. Oh my God, no.
Too much visual, sorry. Anyway, eels living around the world, but what they do is they they only reproduce in one area in the whole world, so they travel millions of miles, 1,000 miles to get to this place, which is where the different over in Asia, there's where the different seas meet. I'm not being, I can't be very scientific about it because I don't know, but there's where the two sort of areas meet, and that's where they congregate, and that's where they have a sex and then die afterwards.
Yeah.
And then the newborns spawn and stuff like that, go and reel their way across the world again.
And then at some point they go back to the one place where they were born to make babies of their own.
Where their parents are born. Yeah, I don't know exactly how that works. I'd have to read it, but but you can imagine that's kind of a weird story.
It's wild.
See why that nobody found that out before, because nobody had the tools to work out, to watch, to check.
Yeah, everybody was like, where are these eels going?
Yeah, exactly. How they have listen, they're not, how can they reproduce if they're not male or female? Because once they became male or female, they'd zip off.
Yeah.
So of course, if you're looking at eels in Holland, you'd only see gender neutral eels, and you would never see.
This is wild. Eels are so weird.
It's crazy, huh? So one time they actually found a sexed email, sexed email. What am I talking about? A sexed eel, and but that was only by coincidence, because it must have been on the way to the field.
Whoa,
crazy stuff.
Crazy
so
it's
quite a weird, funny, kind of interesting book.
Yeah, cool.
So it makes me kind of want to read that one. So that was the first one, and the second one is more of an obituary, because Anne Perry is an author who just passed away this last month, and she wrote crime books, a lot of them, and actually she was also discovered to be one of the two girls who was the center of the film Heavenly Creatures, which I don't know if you ever heard of or saw, but in the early 90s, Peter Jackson, he of Lord of the Rings, made this film called Heavenly Creatures about two young girls in Australia in the 50s who they murdered the mother of one of them because they were very close together, and then their parents were going to split up, and then they were going to split up the two girls, and they didn't want to be split up. So they planned on this murder of the mother, which they did. They were successful, but they got found out, so they were not successful in that. And then they got put away in jail, but because they were underage, they were not sentenced for a long period. So they got out after 5 years, and then she went to England and changed her name. She was English originally, apparently, and then became this author, but not having told anybody, of course, about her previous life until the film turned up. And then some journalists went to digging and found out that was in fact this author.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what happened to her the rest of the time, but how she dealt with that. But she quite clearly did, because she's carried on writing right up to her death. And she's got a book coming out, The Traitor Among Us, which will be coming out shortly, I think in May or June. And there's another one planned for December. So she has been writing until her death, I suppose. So kind of interesting. So she, writing crime, she must know about it. So
I mean, that's kind of, yeah.
Hey, go in their way. So there you go. Anne Perry, crime books, and The Traitor Among Us. And Eula said, she died, and the question was, and did she die of natural causes or?
Oh Christ! Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, so there you go. So we got actually to the end of the list there, I think.
Pretty good selection.
Yeah, masses of books. There's just so much. I feel like at the moment there's a real bubble up of great.
There's a lot coming out, I feel like.
I think we're also on the wave of post-corona, where people are really getting back to normal life. Is it
probably? Yeah, a lot of books that weren't being published then are coming out now.
Also, people, I mean, authors, whatever you say about it, it was for everybody. Whether you liked being on your own in the quietness, which I did, or whether you couldn't stand it and you really wanted to be with people, I think it affected all of us. In a bit of a negative way. I don't think there were many people who really enjoyed it, and I think coming back out, and I think it's like a fallow field, and we're all coming back to life, and it's like, people, and we're kind of like, whether we realize it or not, realizing the substance of being with other people and talking with them, and connecting with people musically or with books or theaters, films and stuff like that. So I think this year the films that came out were really good. And it's just seems to be like a whole burgeoning of good things just happening on their own, as well as the shit stuff, but that it's not the bad people, just taking over happily. Anyway, to round it off, we'll say other stuff. We've got blogs, newsletters, and socials. And so we're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and anything else we're on?
TikTok.
Did I forget that?
Yes.
Yeah, we got the TikTok ladies working overtime. So find us out on TikTok. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
We're trying to work out what hits. One time something hits like a couple of hundred, another time things go like thousands and thousands of people, and they don't.
Yeah, it's a very strange. Yeah.
It's not necessarily to know why, but and the events. Tell us about some of the events.
Well, we've got a ton of events coming up in May. There's the open mic hosted by your very own Luke Nyman. Exactly. Which is on May 5th.
Yeah, next Friday.
Which is Liberation Day.
Liberation Day. I asked people whether they want to do it, and they said, yeah. And I said, fine, let's do it.
Okay.
We'll do it in honor of the people in the Liberation Day, what it's about. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And then on May 6th and 7th, which is next weekend, we will be at Made in Asia, which is like a con with an Asian theme. And
as we were talking about just now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's our first time there.
It is.
So we'll see.
Yeah, and Bella's going to be there, and I don't know who else is going actually, because
I also don't know, but it's going to be great.
It's going to be great, yeah. Well, Bella's one of our colleagues who's learned Japanese and things like that. He's into that. So find us there. That's going to be good fun. Anime, if you're into all of that, and manga, and all the rest of the stuff we have. Then and then the week after we've got an evening on the 8th of May. That's on the Monday. Yeah, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday. On the Monday, we've got an evening with Ellen Keith, and that is her new book, The Dutch Orphan, which we spoke about. I think, did we speak about it last time? I think we did.
I don't think we did.
No? Oh, well, I'll mention that the next time then. But it's the second book in her series, and it's about, well, a Dutch orphan, but it's about the 1940s war, sort of in the same genre as the Sisters of Auschwitz, and obviously Anne Frank book. So talking about, and it's a story, but it's based on real events. So that's going to be interesting. And what's very nice is I've been in contact with her because I'm doing that event. Actually, I'm doing quite a few of the events here. And it's just been brought out in Australia, and it's got to #2 in the bestseller list there already.
Oh wow! Okay.
So it looks like it's on the road to being #1 bestseller in the first week.
In Australia, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, it's got of all places. We don't get books from Australia per se;
No.
they're only brought out there. But this book is actually available in America and England and in Holland, therefore.
Yeah.
Tell us about Futuristic Book Club.
Yeah, I don't know a ton about it, but it's the 2.5 meeting, which means that there was one meeting and then was a second meeting, and then this is the third meeting, but it's about the same book as the second meeting. So it's they sort of spread out one book over 2 sessions, so to speak.
Interesting.
But maybe you should put it up on the screen to show.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to share the screen. Clickety click, and I'm going to say, okay, from the highlights, we go up here to events, and we can scroll down the staff picks, open mic, ABC in the Wild. That's the Made in Asia. That's Keith Ellen, and then Felix Meritis. Sorry, yeah, Future Book Club 2.5, and okay, the Terraformers. So they're talking about that again because they liked it so much. First half. Yeah, this is the first half. Okay, this is the first half. They haven't done the second one yet, apparently. But
no, this is the second half.
Oh, it is. Oh, it says
yeah.
wrong here. Then.
No. If you read the whole sentence, then you'll understand.
#2 transfers faster, but that doesn't make sense.
No, this evening is the follow-up of the first half.
Oh,
there you go.
That's so confusing, especially when you read from right to left like I do, because I'm left-handed.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Anyway,
I'm a hopper. But there you go, yeah, and that is in the Felix Meritis. It's something new that we set up. We've talked about it in previous times as well, and that's going very well. It costs €5, but you get a complimentary drink with it, and you can get the tickets by clicking on something here, I guess. Felix Meritis, yeah. If you go to their website, you can get the tickets from beforehand. That's in the evening, so that's not in the shop. But what is in the shop is the book signing with Maggie Stiefvater.
Yeah.
You happy with that?
I'm very excited. I'm actually free that day, so I'm coming to Amsterdam for that.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, excellent. That's cool. Yeah.
I want my book signed, Luke. I have a ton of them. I'm bringing the whole bag.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You
bought them from us. We're not going to let you do it if you don't buy from us. No, she happened to just email us and say, well, I'm going to be in the south of Holland in a couple of weeks. Can I come and sign with you guys too? I'm kind of big in America, but I don't know whether I'm big there or not. And it's like, yeah, you are. So
you definitely are, Maggie. Don't worry.
Yeah, come on down. So so we just concluded that one today, so that it's going to be on the Wednesday. Just put that up today. Wednesday, May the 17th at 2:00. So be there. And as you can see, Iris is going to be there. And actually a couple of my colleagues also very happy that she's going to be there and wanted to get their books signed. So and also I think it's been on social already because somebody already asked about it. So
yeah, she's been tweeting about it very, very I don't know. Yeah.
Profusely. Profound.
Sure.
Pro something anyway. And then what about the Hague Trading Day?
Yeah, so we have 2 trading days coming up on May 26th and 27th. I think one's a Friday and one's a Saturday. So that is when you can come into the store and exchange your used books for store credit. There's a few like terms and conditions. Basically, if you go to if you click on the event, you can read all about it so that you don't come for nothing. For example, we only take fiction books, no nonfiction. So that's something to keep in mind. And also it's appointment based. So you can call or email the store and reserve a time slot, basically, so that we know, how many people are coming and so that we can sort of plan the day accordingly. But yeah, 2 days, lots of books. Let's go.
Fantastic. Because you do that quite regularly and you get a lot of people all the time, yeah?
Yeah.
And you get booked up so that it's full.
Yes.
So yeah, it's definitely worth calling. You can see you've got the telephone number here. It's probably the best way. It's just, I think it's quite informal. You know, you call up and then you just get put on the list.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. We just kind of, it helps us if not everybody like shows up at the same time. Exactly. Just to spread it out a little bit for the people who are actually working the trade-in. Because some people come with like huge bags or suitcases full of books. So if you have like 5 people with a suitcase full of books at the same time, it gets a little full. So it's nice
doing
if
it for a little while.
Out.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so that's the trading day. That's actually happening at the end of next month, basically the 26th. You said 26th and 27th, the Friday and the Saturday. And also on the Friday and Saturday, then we've got the trading day. It's on there as well. 2 separate days. Yeah,
they're two separate events, but it's
They are. They're not next to each other. In between, sandwiched in between.
Exactly, because there's other stuff happening. There's a lot happening.
Hey, there is so much going on. There we go. So we got the Trading Day Friday, book chats and staff picks. Our very last event of the year, of the season, I should say, not the year, season. The ABC book chats, that carries on Zoom, and that is free to attend. But of course, it's good if you read the book before, and this time it's before the coffee gets cold. And that we've talked about before. And there are some more, I think there's 4 books now, maybe 5 books out now.
I don't know. I know there's definitely 3. I don't know.
Okay. But there's more coming anyway, if it's not already out. And I definitely want to read it myself. That's online. So you can join the Zoom meeting here to do that. This is what it looked like before the plague set in, and post-plague they carried it on because it's kind of easier to do it online, because you can do it from anywhere you like in the world, which is kind of cool. And talking of that, the open mic night you can actually do online as well. We do open mic nighters in the shop, but I also have the computer there with the Zoom connection, and we get people from America, and we get people from The Hague, and we get people from Amsterdam zooming in as well, just to watch or to perform as well. So that's also possible. That's nice.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's I love that. I love seeing that. So next month, let's talk about staff picks. Is that you are going to be on holiday?
Yeah, I'm not going to be there for the next episode, which is the last episode of the season, but it's okay. It's going to be fun anyway. There will be other people.
There will be other people.
I'm sure they're great.
They will be. Well, we got Bella coming from Amsterdam. I don't know if you've got anybody named from The Hague yet.
I also don't know yet, but I guess you'll find out.
We'll have at least Bella and myself, and possibly a third person, or maybe even a fourth. Who knows? That will join us to have a big old Rampoony birthday Rampoony party. Well, my birthday's the week after, so we could celebrate that.
Yeah.
But a Rampoony last end of season rip-roaring book fest. So unfortunately, you're going to miss it unless you want to join us when you're on holiday. But
no, I can't. I'll be in France.
Oh, they got
eating croissant.
Oh, le croissant! Oh, je veux le croissant! Oui.
Exactly.
You have a little mouth for coffee.
Anyway,
all right.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be great. Yeah, the next one was ABC in the Wild, and that's the next web, but that's in June. So we'll mention that next month. So I think we've just about done it, and we've actually hit that hour again. We always do way over the half an hour. Yes, whoa, we did it. So thanks to Iris.
Yo. Thanks to Luke.
Thanks to my beard. This is my base. It's my beard. Okay, it's a time. I know.
Yeah.
I need some more tea. So we'll thanks for watching. I hope you got some good tips for some good books, and find us out on social media and come to the shop. It's really buzzing at the moment, or see us online on the different social medias, I would say. What do you say?
Yeah, no, totally.
Okay,
let's
say goodbye.
Bye.